Hi, this is Brandon Green of the American atmospheric doom metal band MARROWFIELDS, and you are listening to The Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International.
Brandon, thank you very much for taking time out for this interview, and you're very welcome here to the Metal Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
This is your home.
Home away from home, for sure.
Home away from home, yes. Brandon Green, before we go over with the band that we are here for, MARROWFIELDS, please don't you mind to introduce yourself and tell us how long have you been doing music, especially metal, and to which bands are you part of?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been doing music. I'm 33 years old, so I've been doing this for a while. Unfortunately, none of my bands have really gained much traction until recently, but I've really only started taking music seriously recently. Part of a few bands. I'm a part of MARROWFIELDS, which is the one we're talking about right now. We got an album coming out in a couple of weeks on Black Lion Records. I'm also in a band called Fateful Hour. It's a melodic doom / black metal band. I also run my own recording studio, so I do a lot of stuff on my own. It's pretty fun, and it's been great while I haven't been able to leave the house to have something to do.
Always busy.
Yes, very busy. So I work on a lot of death metal stuff by myself. So I do all the guitars, the bass work, the vocals, and I program drums. I can't play drums, unfortunately. I wish I could. Maybe it's something to learn. But yeah, just super busy. My studio name is Crow and Raven Studios, which is actually after a track from the MARROWFIELDS record.
Talking about bands that you are part of, as you just mentioned, the Fateful Hour, this melodic death doom out of New Bedford, Massachusetts. This band has released 2 great albums. Well, to be honest, my favorite is the 2013 one, An Everlasting Silence, with some real cool tunes. I remember Into the Arms of the Heavens, The Valley of Tears, Final Farewell, and the whole album is so awesome. And not to forget the 2015 one, released All We Leave Behind. Both albums released independently. Why did the band re-release the 2013 track Into the Arms of Heaven as a single release in 2016? And are you guys working on a new album for the Fateful Hours?
Yeah, we are. So we have a kind of new lineup. We had parted ways with the drummer that was on the first 2 albums, and we got a new drummer. And the newer style is a little more on the black metal side. So we still got the melodic doom elements, but there's some blast beats. There's a lot of blackened textural guitars. It's a lot darker. I think everybody's going to like it. It's still got the very much powerful, honest sound that Fateful Hour has, but at the same time, it's exploring some of the really emotional, harrowing, brutal aspects of black metal.
Yes, go back to the first question I asked you about this track. Why did you re-release the track in 2016, the 2013 one? I said Into the Arms of the Heavens.
So that was a celebration of a new style of the band. So you'll notice that on the first iteration of that song, it's a little bit slower, and it's also a little bit shorter. The newer version, it's slightly sped up, and there's also some changes in the middle section towards the end to have some blast beats and some black metal into it. And that's sort of reflecting the direction of where the band is going with the new drummer. So it was a way of paying tribute to our old sound and the things that we used to do, but also welcoming some new style into what we're trying to do.
Well, I really want to hear that version, that 2016 version that I didn't hear, because the one I'm talking about is the one that it's on the album, on the Everlasting Silence. Yep. So I will kindly ask you, please, if you don't mind, send me that special version of that great track. I love the track Into the Arms of the Heaven. I've been keeping listening to this all.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I can send that to you. It's actually on YouTube as a single, but if you can't find it, or I'll just shoot you the link when I can.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brandon. I'll continue with this interview of Fall River, Massachusetts, MARROWFIELDS, formed in 2015 and inspired by bands like Yup Alcest, My Dying Bride, Swallow the Sun, Enslaved, Type of Negative, Triptykon, Agalloch, Pallbearer, Paradise Lost, just to mention some. The band Conjure, Surreal, Atmospheric Doom, Metal through their upcoming debut, Metamorphoses. Brandon, you as the mastermind behind the MARROWFIELDS as a one-man band. At that time, you released one demo in January of 2006 performing all instrument. Please tell us what was that EP all about?
So that demo at the time, it's kind of interesting. When I was doing that stuff, that was exactly around when I was starting to explore my own sound. The Fateful Hour was very much a collaborative effort between a bunch of different people. And I had a lot of different riffs and a lot of really cool things that I wanted to explore in a lower and more heavier tuning that wouldn't fit in that band. So that's exactly why I made MARROWFIELDS. I wanted to create something that was pretty much coming from me, that was really, really dark, really heavy, down-tuned, but also on the more beautiful side too, because I like to write clean sections and kind of drone out a little bit. But when I created that demo, I was trying to share with the world the process of writing the songs. At the time, those songs were instrumental. They didn't have any vocals on it or anything like that. It's kind of interesting, the scene that we have here in Massachusetts in the United States. On the East Coast, there's a lot of really talented metal bands out here. We're blessed with an awesome community, and there's a lot of friends of mine that play in amazing bands out here, and I get to see them all the time. And I decided to, once I had the demo, use it to approach some people that I really respected and try to put together a lineup that I thought would really do it justice and make it interesting.
Yes, talking about the band, in 2006, you decided to cover this one-man project into a full lineup band. Brandon, how did you select it each, all the members of the band? And please, don't you mind to present us the band members?
Yeah, absolutely. Ken Gillis, the vocalist of the band. I've been a fan of his for a long time. We've been playing together in various other bands and being on the same lineups for shows and stuff like that. I've been a big fan of his, and when I first started putting together the demo, I knew that I wanted clean vocals on it. There are so many doom bands that do the harsh vocal thing, and not that I don't love that. I love harsh vocals. I've just been in that type of band so many times that I wanted to try something new. I thought about who I knew in my scene that I really loved their clean vocal style, and the first person that came to mind was Ken. So I approached him about it, and I asked him, I sent him the demo. Really helpful to have the finished tunes because it was something for people to work on and listen to and get the vibe before they came in. And when I sent it to him, he loved it. And I sent him the lyrics that I had, and he kind of chopped them up a bit, made them his own, came into my studio, laid down his ideas. I didn't tell him to do anything. He just came in and put down his stuff.
No.
And I fell in love with it. I thought it was the most interesting way to approach the music vocally. And he's just got such an iconic voice that I love. And I'm so glad that we have him in the lineup. And for the rest of the members, AJ Grimes is the drummer. He's actually a friend of mine from high school that I lost touch with over 10 years ago or so. And him and I always shared interest in doom. We love, our favorite bands are Type O Negative. And I don't know a lot of drummers that love that style. So I reached out to him on a whim and I sent him the demo and I was like, hey man, I don't know if you're looking for something to play in or anything like that. And I know that he was in bands at the time and he was kind of winding down on stuff. He was in a band called Norsa. They're melodic death metal in the style of Old Flames, that kind of. They're no longer putting out stuff. They put out a record a little while ago that was really awesome if you want to check it out. But I approached him with the demo and he loved it. He learned the entire record in like a couple of days. Second to last person I asked was my friend Tim, another obsessed friend of mine that loves Type O Negative. Actually, we were in a cover band together for Type O Negative. He can nail that Peter Steele low voice and play the bass. So wow. I knew he was perfect for this project, so I asked him to be in it, and he actually helped write some of the songs on the demo. And the last person that I asked was my friend Josh Moran. He plays for the funeral doom band Vacant Eyes. Amazing doom. If you're not familiar with them, they're from Western Mass. I've been a big fan of that band for a long time, and I asked him on a whim because he plays in down tuning, an amazing lead player, and I just sort of handpicked from all of my favorite groups from where I'm from, and we assembled the lineup, and I couldn't be happier with what we got.
Yes, as I can see, bands are formed from guys that know each other and love this type of music that you guys present, especially that you guys are friends.
Oh, yeah.
When I listened to the first two singles that you guys released, talking about the Metamorphoses and the birth of the Liberator, gave me that vibe type of negative so much. Paradise is Lost as well. Great music.
I can't get that out of my blood. I don't know what it is, but growing up when I was younger, I was obsessed with all the peaceful doom bands and like My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost, Catatonia. That's like in my blood. I can't get that out of my playing. So I'm glad that people love that stuff because for me, melody is everything. I love really heavy and crushing stuff, but melody, it's the heart of who I am. So I can't get that out of it.
I love all these dooms type of atmospheric and funeral. I love all these bands. Brandon, continue with this interview. Yes, after that you have built this band together. You guys already had a show planned. After that, that was supposed to be happen on January 18 in Providence and Rhode Island. I mean, what can you tell us about this show? The first show that the band did for this year.
Okay, so that is a really special show, actually, and I'm glad you brought it up. A friend of mine, Jim Burden, he runs a production/booking company out here in New England and puts some of the best, like I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Well, I'm only on these shows because he's a really good friend of mine, but the acts that he gets on these shows are just amazing, amazing bands. And it's really cool what he does. So the Evening of Dark Arts, what that's about is performers from New England, not just music that celebrate dark art. That particular night was pretty cool because we had belly dancers, a friend of ours who does sort of dark metal inspired belly dance. She does work with swords and all that kind of cool stuff. You should look her up. She goes by Iwi. Christina Collins Terrell is her name. Amazing performer. She was opened up the show with a bunch of pagan-like metal, and she was dressed in skulls and had swords, and she had fur on, and really, really awesome performance. And we went on after her. We played mostly our new album, but we also have a couple new songs. So we've been starting to put those in our rotation. We got a new song that we're working on right now called Endless Serpent, and it's a mythological homage to the Ouroboros Ragnarok story. So it's pretty cool. We debuted that, and it went awesome. The crowd response was killer. That was actually the first night that we started selling shirts. So we sold a bunch of shirts that night. That was pretty cool. We got some shirts that have the logo and the album art on it, and they look killer. There's a bunch of other bands that played that night. So Lesser Glow played. They're an amazing doom band that's from the area. The band Glacier played. They are an instrumental post-rock doom band. Absolutely crushing band.
I love post-metal. Wow.
I love that band. Super, super awesome. And the last band was Ineona, and they're a Boston-based dark metal band. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have a new album out, right?
Yep, I actually haven't heard it yet, but I've heard very good things.
Yeah. Metamorphoses will be released April 24th, 2020 via Black Lion Record. The record plays like a seamless 51 minutes epic doom tale showcasing anguishing stories involving a howling, dreary landscapes, the punishment of mankind, and the death and a transformation of gods. Could you please present us the album track list, please?
So for The Flood, that's inspired by some of the first parts of the creation stories inside that book. So inside the background for Metamorphoses. And that is essentially the punishment of mankind for misdeeds and the creation of Earth and the creation of the gods and demigods and everything involved with, in the beginning, the shapelessness of the world becoming what it is. So that's what The Flood is about. Crow and Raven is a track 2. It's one of the more somber, slower songs on the album. A lot of clean parts, a lot of crushing parts. But what that song is about is also punishment for misdeeds. So it's about two particular characters who were forced in exile and punished to be in bird form, more specifically Crow and Raven, to be in complete exile from all of the white birds who are essentially of the higher and more accepted stature. So that's what Crow and Raven is about. Birth of the Liberator is essentially the birth of Bacchus. That is everything involving hedonism and all of the stories involved with everything that had to do with pocket, which I thought this is kind of a funny thing. There was somebody recently who posted a React video, The Birth of the Liberator, and they did an analysis of the lyrics, and they were talking about how it was like a Christ-like figure, and I thought that was hilarious because it's not a Christ figure. But I mean, the lyrics are very vague, and that was on purpose. I didn't want them to be taken literally. I wanted the listener to kind of bring their own image from it. You know what I mean? Metamorphosis is exactly what it is. It's about transformation of humankind, and not only in the physical sense, but also in the emotional sense. And that's what a lot of the music is reflecting in that song. There's catchy, clean parts, and then there's full, visceral, full-on black metal, and there's heavy, heavy crushing riffs, and it's supposed to represent all of the phases of transformation. And Dragged to the World Below, which is track 5, is actually the story between the courtship of Persephone and Hades. That is Hades dragging Persephone down to hell, and the transformation of seasons between her visitation above and her visitation below. It's sort of a greatest hits of some of my favorite stories from the book.
Brandon, I want to thank you very much for describing also album tracking list. The sound created by MARROWFIELDS showcases their ability to blend crushing doom tones from the traditional era with dreamlike black metal. The two genre whirlwind together into a truly sorrowful concept record. The soaring, clean vocals over long conversation flicked themes of intense suffering, devastation, loss, and greed. Engineered, mixed, and mastered by you, Brandon Green, at Crow and Raven Studio, and drums track by Kenny Cosgaren at Nightfall Studio. Brandon, how long was the process of getting, this album ready, has taken? Did every band member help doing their part? And how was the mixing and mastering gone with you at Crow and Raven Studio, Gun?
I think it's so cool that you asked this question. The process for tracking it took a while. So we did the drums first. AJ was very, very well prepared. He had pretty much everything written within a few months, and we rehearsed it together as a band on how the songs were going to sound with a live feel pretty frequently before we started tracking. So the drums were close to what they are now. Yeah, and when we did the drum tracking, that took a weekend. So we got together with Kenny. He's a good friend of mine. He actually plays in Fateful Hour. He has his own studio, Nightfall Studios, up in Boston. At the time, I couldn't track drums. He helped me do that. So we went up to his studio. We did the drum tracking, and then I took all of the things back to my studio to do everything else. I did all the guitar tracking, and then Tim did all of his bass tracking, and we did all the vocal tracking over the course of about a year. Once the tracking was completed, I was teaching myself how to mix and master at the time.
That was your first work, or you've done the mixing and mastering already for somebody else?
This was actually the first thing I ever did myself. So, yeah. And I wanted a old school sound on this, so I was referencing a lot of Doom records from the mid-90s, late 90s, early 2000s. So I wanted it to sound a little more on the older side. I wasn't going for a modern production at all. That's sort of why you hear it that way. It sounds old school. There's a little more noise in it, and that was on purpose. So I went through maybe 10 iterations of mixing those songs before I was happy with it. And yeah, that probably took about 6 months or so before the band was happy with all the different levels of everything, and everything sort of came together. So all in all, it was about a year and a half or so to get everything done between tracking, mixing, mastering, all that stuff. It's been done for a while. When we finished, we started chopping it around, and that's how we found Black Lion.
The band's debut full-length album, Metamorphoses, will be released, like I said, on April 24, 2020 via the Swedish Black Lion record. And by the way, I like to say hi to Oliver Dahlbeck from this prestigious record label, Black Lion Records. How are everything going around the release of your debut album, Brandon? And how did you nail this deal with Black Lion Records? This guy is an awesome guy to work with. I'm talking about Oliver Dahlbeck. I mean, how are you guys working together?
I had reached out to Black Lion Records after we put together some personal videos for the first two debuts of the albums, Metamorphoses and Birth of the Liberator. I had some professional videos made, and I'm a big fan of Black Lion Records lineup. I mean, they have a killer roster.
I've been working with Oliver for the last 1 or 2 years and been doing most of his band's interviews.
That's awesome. I mean, Oliver has been a total pleasure to work with so far. He's amazing with communication, super creative with reaching out to people, and it's so funny. Like every morning I wake up and I check the MARROWFIELDS page, and I have a new thing being tagged from somebody from around the world that's excited about the album. So yeah, we as a band, we're very, very happy with everything that Black Lion and Oliver's crew has done for us, and we're excited to be working with them. They're all great people, and they do an awesome job. They've had some creative input too on how to do marketing and how to make the album artwork a little better and stuff like that, and all their suggestions have been great.
Brandon, for the fans who already want to get this album, in how many formats will this album be available?
Right now, I think it's going to be digital and digipack, so CD format. I would love to press vinyl if there's interest, if people want that. I mean, that's something we could talk about in the future, hopefully. I think the album artwork would look awesome on an LP jacket. Might Shout out to my friend Kishore Hollenbeek, who did the album artwork. If you haven't checked out his work, please go check it out. He's an amazing artist. But yeah, so far right now it's digital and CD. We'll see how it goes, how the interest plays out. If it goes well, maybe there'll be more.
I always like to repeat it over and over again because, especially with American bands, when I interview European bands, that's a problem. They always release on vinyls because in Europe, vinyls are very popular. They are very high demanding for LPs or vinyls, in Europe. But I guess that should grow up to in the United States that people need to start buying vinyls again.
Yeah, and we're kind of starting to do that in little pockets in America, like in Providence, Rhode Island area, which is about 20 minutes from my house. There's a pretty big metal scene, and there's an Armageddon shop there, which is an awesome metal vinyl place. They have one in Boston as well. Boston's a big spot for music and shows and stuff like that. But, on the East Coast and stuff, you do see vinyl, and a lot of my friends collect vinyl. I don't, because I know that's a black pit of financial despair for me because I know I'll be buying so much of it. But we'll see how it goes. If there's a lot of interest in Europe for our record to be on vinyl, hopefully.
What a great collaboration of Bliss Auburn of the Faithful Hour doing lead guitar composition on Craw and Raven, Birth of the Liberator, and Metamorphoses. How did this idea came forward, and how was it doing this collaboration with Bliss Auburn?
I couldn't be happier. I don't think the songs would have turned out as cool if she didn't get her hands on them. My wife and I do everything together. She's my best friend.
It's your wife?
Yeah, she's my wife.
Okay, you're a lucky one, man.
Yeah, she's the best. So we do everything together, and the Faithful Hour was our band. And when I started writing MARROWFIELDS at the time, we were living in an apartment, and she's a painter, so she's always working on artwork. And late at night when she'd be done painting, she'd usually go make a bowl of food or something and come and sit in my studio and look at what I've been working on. And almost always, without failure, when I would show her something, it would inspire an idea. So she would end up picking up my guitar, and she's like, just turn on the thing, let's record and put some ideas down. And I'm so glad we did it, because some of the best leads on the whole album are the ones that she wrote. So I'm not complaining.
The band's debut record is a piece truly inspired by Ovidian folklore, which can be seen in Kishore Hollenbeek's painting for the cover. What a great piece of artwork, especially with the crows or ravens on. Please, if you don't mind, share with us all the details around this.
It's kind of funny. Kishore's a really good friend of mine. I love his artwork. He was in a few amazing bands. If you haven't checked him out, he's in Black Harvest, which is kind of a homage to like early Enslaved / early Opeth. It's very proggy, but it's unbelievably well composed. So he did all the artwork for the albums too. So check it out. It's awesome. I became friends with him actually when I saw his band play in Western Mass. We made the trek just because I love Black Harvest, and within half an hour, him and I became super good buddies, and we've been close friends ever since. And I've always loved his artwork. So I sent him, when I finished the album and it was done and recorded and all the lyrics were done, I sent him the album and I was like, just roll with it. Come up with something, and I can't wait to see. I didn't give him any direction whatsoever, and he nailed the atmosphere of the album to a T. The bleakness of it in terms of like the big open landscape with the desolate human being that's transformed into a tree. Yeah. And the crow and raven on the cover. Yep. Yeah. He absolutely nailed it. So I couldn't be happier, and I'm going to have him probably do all of my album artwork from now on, because he's so in tune with what I'm doing.
Especially me, that my show and me, it's all about darkness, cemeteries. It reflects right in me when I first saw the cover. Before that, I even heard the music. That cover really grabbed me.
Yeah, and I knew for this music that I needed a killer piece of artwork to go with it, because being somebody who's married to a visual artist, that stuff is important to me. When you have music, the visual component is super important as well. If you don't nail that, like, as human beings, we're visual people. You want to see what the world is that you're listening to. So I wanted to make sure that was clean.
Terrific work. You have to congratulate you both, guys.
Oh yeah, he's the man. I won't stray away from him for sure.
The band was supposed to be at dusk, that was on on 12th of March for a show with great bands performing like Almost Honest, Mon the Light, and Black Soul Seraphim. If I'm not wrong, the band canceled this presentation, or was the show itself canceled, Brandon?
As far as I know, the event itself was canceled because that was the week that Dusk actually closed down.
Okay.
So Dusk is a really cool bar. It's a goth vampire kind of themed metal bar.
I should be there.
Yeah, it's all the couches are like red velvet and there's like candelabras and all black with like red velvet curtains, and it's a really cool place. It's small, but the sound is awesome. They've got great beers on tap, and yeah, it's a great place. And I was super bummed when that show was canceled because the bands that were on that, Moran the Light is a killer band in this area. They write some really, really awesome sort of stonery doom, heavy metal doom kind of stuff. Really, really cool. They have a lot of artwork and a lot of merch, so pick some stuff up. And Black Soul Seraphim is amazing. They are so freaking good. It's a good friend of mine, Josh. He goes by Maestro Morte is his name. And he writes pretty much most of the stuff for the band, but everybody in that band is so crazy talented. And I actually had the privilege to produce their latest EP, Profane Devotion. So check that out if you haven't heard it.
I will, Brandon. I will check them out.
They're awesome. I'm working on their newest album right now. We had to take a break because we're doing the whole social distancing thing, but listen to them. You'll love it.
Okay. Brandon, likewise in Europe and the whole world, all shows and festivals are canceled until further notice. What will be the band be doing either for the fall anytime soon in support of this great album?
We have a tentative album release planned for sometime in August right now. Hopefully, if things open up by then. If not, we'll probably do a supporting show in the fall.
There will be album release party then.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we've worked too hard on this to skip that.
Okay. And what else besides the album release?
What else in terms of live shows?
Yeah.
Probably support up in, I have a lot of friends up in Maine, so I would love to go up in Maine area and rock out with those bands and support the record. Up in Portland has a really killer doom and black metal scene. I have a lot of friends up there that are doing some cool things, so I'd love to play up there. I'd love to hit Vermont. There's a really cool place up there called the Stone Church. It's literally a church. That would be a really cool place to play our music. I'd love to go out to Western Mass, which is a pretty awesome area. There's a place called the 13th Floor, which has a killer metal scene. Our buddy Josh in the band is from there, and he does live sound at that venue, and they have a lot of people that come out there.
It seems like you know all the cool places.
Yeah, I've been around for a little while. So, if you're bored and you're allowed to leave the house, there's some cool places to check out music. And we'll probably play some stuff in Boston and Providence and, things like that too.
In the back of your head, any idea to invade Europe anytime soon?
I would love to do that. I think the rest of the band would love to do it too. If there was an opportunity to jump on a festival or something in Europe, I think we'd be on it for sure. I don't know about a full-blown month-long tour or something like that because we all have day jobs. Some of us have kids and stuff like that. I think, a one-off, 1 or 2 shows kind of thing. Go over and play, any festival would be really, really fun, and I think we could totally be down to do it. It's just a matter of getting it set up and, making sure that we can head over there.
Okay, Brandon, I want to thank you very much for having made this interview possible, and I want to hand you over the microphone of Metal Messiah Radio for you to invite all your fans to support the band to buy this great new masterpiece, Metamorphoses, and also check band's merchandises. Talking about merchandises, what do you guys have just now? You talk about some merch, but what do you have already in stock that people can get? Is there any patches, shirt, or anything people can have with the band logo, with the new cover artwork of the band? What else is there?
So right now we have shirts. We don't have them through Black Lion, but I know that was something that Oliver was working on. I have to talk to them about it and see where they're at with that. I have shirts personally that we're going to be selling at shows. So if you see me at a show or anything like that, just come on and say hi. We'll have physical CDs and stuff through Black Lion, and any other physical. I would love to do patches. That's actually a really awesome idea too. It would be really cool. So I'm going to look into that stuff before the release or shortly after the release, and we'll get some stuff up there for sure.
Can you imagine patches with the Metamorphoses album cover on the jacket? It's awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see, on their jean jacket or whatever, a patch. Yeah. Or just the logo. The logo is really cool too.
Yeah, the logo is killer. Where did you get it from?
My friend Kishore did it.
Oh, too. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon, I kindly ask you to say hello to Tim, to AJ, Ken, and Josh for me, please.
Okay, yeah, we'll do. I can't wait to see those guys again. Every time we have band practice, we always grill outside and have beers, and I miss them like crazy. So I can't wait to listen over and we can get together. We actually I've been writing a lot, so I have almost 2 albums worth of material to work on. So we have a whole backlog of stuff to get on. Yeah.
You're going to hear more about your works then.
Oh, yeah. Stay tuned. We're not stopping. That's for sure.
Brandon, the microphone of Meta Messiah Radio is all yours to thank whoever you want to thank.
Sure. I wanted to thank Oliver and the Black Lion crew. Those guys are just killing it for us, and we really, really appreciate everything that they're doing. I feel like we're at home, and it's kind of a family, and those guys are just doing great stuff. I want to thank my bandmates for all the hard work that they put into this. They are just the best. Showing up to band practices and bringing food and beers, and like Josh drives 2 hours to come to band practice, and he doesn't complain. Those guys are just the best. They're working really, really hard, and I really, really appreciate that, especially from somebody who came from such a humble and simple beginning to have things blossoming into this. It's really a special thing. I want to thank my wife for all of her awesome contributions on the album. It wouldn't be where it is now without her. And I want to thank all the fans. It's been really cool to see waking up every morning the reactions to the album, and it's not even out yet. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Share it around. Let's give it legs and see how far we can get with it. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to interview me and giving this album some more attention, and especially from such dorky beginnings in my little humble studio.
Brandon, before I leave, I want to thank you very much, you and Oliver, for sending me the album MP3 file. To you out there, this is highly recommended by me. I listened to the whole album. It's unbelievable. It's killer. So go out there, buy this. You must have this great album in your collection. Yes, with nothing else to say, Brandon, like always say, metal on. Bye-bye.
Take care.